What's going on, everyone? We're your hosts, Grant Cohn and Rob Schuh. We're gonna be ranking the teams in the NFC West, and this is my favorite exercise to do. I take this very seriously, but we're gonna save that. We're gonna make you wait, and we're gonna build up to it. First, we're gonna wrap up preseason. Rob, it's great to see you. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm feeling a little bit old this morning.
Why?
Well, yesterday I tweaked my back a little bit doing nothing significant, and I know you can relate to this
Do it all the
story.
time.
I was lying on the ground trying to fix a tub, felt a little tweak in my back, and the first thing that runs through my brain is, my back and my neck. Look around to see if I have any witnesses, and then I realize I'm on my own property.
Yeah.
And the lawsuit is not going to turn out in my favor. So I just realized that, yes, I'm old. And then this morning I'm reading in the arts section, which I try to stay with my morning coffee to avoid politics and anything that will upset me. Lo and behold, I hit something that upsets me even more, that there are two things up for auction in the near future. A Triceratops, the largest one ever found, skeleton.
Oh, I was going to say.
Fossilized skeleton. And a Banksy half shredded painting.
Oh no.
The Triceratops going for 1.4 million, the Banksy estimated at 7 million. I mean, if you have 1.5 million in disposable income that you're going to throw away on art,
I want the Triceratops.
Dude, put the Triceratops in your house.
Give me that.
If I walk into your foyer and I see a Triceratops, bro, I'm jaw dropping.
Bro, it's true. That would really set you apart. All right,
Yeah.
Let's talk about the preseason. It's over, and we're gonna turn the page to the Lions in a day or two, or maybe later.
Yep.
But right now, let's wrap up what we've witnessed.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you are our insider, right? You're providing us with all this great inside information, all of the firsthand eyewitness accounts. You're phenomenal at it, right? You're a great observer and a great storyteller. So I wanted to ask you a few questions about your summations around what you've seen to this point as we put a bow on the preseason.
Yes.
So my first question for you, who was the biggest surprise player? Who's that player that coming in, you had very low expectations, and in watching them in person really changed your opinion?
Okay, I'll go offense, defense. On defense, it was D Ford. No one had any expectations for him. He looked really good. He looked healthy. So D Ford, big surprise. If he can play like he did for Kansas City and Nick Bosa can stay healthy, this team could be really dangerous. And then go ahead. Sorry.
Tell me more about that. When you see him in the one-on-one drills,
he's not in the skeptical. One-on-one drills. He's not in the one. So let's be fair. He's not in the one-on-one drills.
Right.
But when he's in the 11-on-11 drills, he looked really good. He didn't play in preseason either. So maybe this is all a mirage, Rob. I don't know. Maybe he could go in the first game, hurt his back again like last year and be done. But for right now, the mirage looks very compelling and realistic. Like it's right there. It's right there. And there's an oasis and it's just so tempting, but
gorgeous.
We're not there yet.
No.
So
it is a mirage at this point.
The oasis of D is good. On offense, it's his kid. I'm not going to say he's a kid. This man, Trent Sherfield, no one knew who he was. He had 5 catches last year for the Cardinals. Comes here and pretty much outworks every wide receiver on the team. I mean, Deebo Samuel and Ayuk aren't being tested for their spots, but this guy looks like the real vet, pro, mature man on the team, and he probably is a number 3 receiver on the team right now. Most people hadn't really heard of him before he came to the Niners. I'd heard of him vaguely because you watched. I mean, the Niners play the Cardinals every once in a while. He had 5 catches last year. So Sherfield.
Yeah, I mean, coming in, I thought, wow, a great gunner, a core special teams player, but your clarification of a true man there, I think that was important. That speaks to the vibe that I've gotten in all the reporting as well. Coming in as a true professional, just looking the part, acting the part, doing the things that are required to be great in this league that he learned directly from one of the greatest, Larry Fitzgerald, as much as it pains me to say that. I think that was a shocker for me as well. And you hope that rubs off on an otherwise fairly young wide receiver group.
Yes, I would agree. So that he's a big surprise, big positive outcome for the 49ers. Found money so far. Trent Sherfield.
Do you anticipate that he will end the year as the 3rd overall wide receiver?
I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. He's a great story. He's killed it in camp and in preseason, but those things don't always translate for players. I mean, let's see what he does against starting corners in the NFL.
Right.
So was he a preseason superstar? We're gonna have to see. I mean, the Cardinals didn't want him back. The Cardinals may know something too. So he's promising so far, but I don't know. I haven't really seen him go up against good corners yet.
Okay, flip the script. Who was the biggest disappointment? Who was the player coming in that you expected something from and just didn't see it?
Okay, I'll go offense, defense again. On defense, Javon Kinlaw. I'm not writing him off. And in a sense, he had the same offseason plan as D Ford. No one-on-ones, some 11-on-11s. And he didn't regress. I just felt that D Ford, at least that he's a really good pass rusher when he's healthy. You know that about him. Kinlaw is like, what is he? He's a big guy who's athletic and is very good against the run. He's stout up the middle. He can run to the sideline. Really exactly what you want as a run defender. But he needs a lot of development as a pass rusher. Plus, he has a chronic knee issue that he had a procedure on this offseason. Hasn't improved as a pass rusher from what I've seen because he didn't get the work in it at all. And the knee is still an issue. So that's troubling. And then, Kinlaw, I would have to say.
It's concerning at that age, right? With D Ford, proven factor, like you're talking about, a little bit older, very serious injury. I think we all understand that. I'm super torn between the idea that I don't want anyone injured in practice, and therefore I'm actually pretty pleased that we really scaled things down. And it seems like the 49ers listened to their quality control coach in trying not to get anybody injured this offseason, and it worked.
Except for Trey. I tried to tell you, get him out of the pocket. I tried to tell you.
You did. You were very vocal about that.
I was.
And they obviously watched up to a point and then had to turn it off for preseason.
That's true.
They're busy at that point. Yeah, they're busy. But the idea that at his age, they're having to regulate Kinlaw, it makes you wonder whether the second contract will be there or not. I'm sure that there's a lot that will change in between now and then, but it's concerning as a young player to be held back that much.
Yeah, and then on offense, Jalen Hurd. I know, I'm not writing off Kinlaw and Hurd yet because they're both young, but dude did nothing, like next to nothing. He practiced maybe 3 or 4 times. He played in two preseason games? One preseason game. Dropped a couple of passes, looked kind of slow on the team anyway. And immediately, first thing this week, misses practice Wednesday, misses practice Thursday. It's like, does the bare minimum to stay on the team because he knows he's a 3rd-round pick and the Niners pretty much gained nothing by cutting him. But he seems like the new Dante Pettis, and everyone just gives him a pass. The Niners are really tough on Dante for whatever reason. Jalen Hurd, they're like, he's really good though. Oh, word? You've never seen him play at all. And now you have, to me, this like kind of redundant wide receiver group where there's a lot of big, kind of slow guys, Sanu, Jennings, Hurd, and you don't have the speedy guy like what Richie James Jr. was supposed to be, or Travis Benjamin was supposed to be, or Emmanuel Sanders was. So Hurd has still shown nothing and is still skating by.
It does seem like he did the bare minimum requisite in order to make the team. Not saying that was intentional on his part or anything.
Right. Definitely not saying that.
Yeah, you're saying that he barely hit the bar that he needed to hit in order to be on the team, on the roster. And it'll be interesting, much the same way as with Ford. It'll be interesting to see if he can stand up to a full regular season. I think that obviously that's one of the biggest question marks for this team, not the level of talent, but can the talent stay on the team? And it sure seems like Hurd fits that bill.
Right. Yep. So those would be the two.
All right. Set that aside. Now, what was the atmosphere like? Give me some hope here. Give me some hope. I hope, fingers crossed. Was it different for previous years? I mean, 2020 was an odd year. Obviously, you can't really speak to that because things were so FUBAR at the beginning of 2020. But when you look at years prior, when you were around the team, describe the atmosphere.
Well, the way I would characterize this year's atmosphere was I was expecting to feel like a brand new team. They made this trade up for this new quarterback who plays a totally different style. And I felt like it was almost going to be like a whole new feel. But what happened was the Niners also re-signed all their veteran free agents to 1-year deals. And so they brought back the revenge tour. It's the revenge tour 2.0. And they love Jimmy and they believe in each other. And they thought last year was a fluke and they would have made the playoffs and maybe won the Super Bowl if it hadn't been for injuries. So what you're seeing is like one last attempt from the vets in this locker room to hold on to the past and prove that, you can't just throw us out yet, that we were a team, and, Trey wasn't really part of that yet. And he might be able to contribute in ways, but it's us, and we're a veteran team. And I think it was kind of interesting to see that organically happen.
That's interesting. And I don't know how that makes me feel. On the one hand, I want them to retire this whole quest for 6 thing. I wasn't wild about it when it came out, and I think they should retire that. But the revenge tour, the way that we keep replaying.
Now it's 2019 vibes. That's what they say. Resetting. 2019 vibes. That's what they say.
Yeah, that to me feels dangerous. It feels like this is a new team, should be a new atmosphere, should be a hungry atmosphere, but should be an atmosphere of a team that hasn't proven anything at this point, because in this season and in the season past, they haven't.
But just remember, they have pride, and they've been together a long time. They've been together since they were bad 4 or 5 years ago. They've kind of all grown up together, and it must have been very tough for the organization to kind of like give Jimmy Garoppolo a vote of no confidence this offseason, because I feel like a lot of players in the locker room are saying, hey, like, you're kind of giving all of us a vote of no confidence. We had extenuating circumstances last year. I thought we were on the same page, that we were hurt and it was Nick Mullen's fault. Now you're saying it's Jimmy's fault. Wait a second. What we win with Jimmy, and Jimmy's one of us, and all of that. And I feel like this is the locker room's opportunity to kind of stick it to management and say, you buried us too quickly. Jimmy's one of us, and we're still good. And I'm with management. I'm so with management. But it's very interesting to see this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I actually think that's one of the reasons Jimmy's team first mentality that does come through, and I think is probably a large portion of why the guys fight for him and love him. I think that it actually, just tying into the 2 quarterback dynamic, I think it plays into a reason that this 2 quarterback setup could actually work for the 49ers, is Jimmy's seeming willingness to set aside the ego and put team first in all aspects. That to me is one of his core strengths. And I get that doesn't overcome a lot of his shortcomings, but I think in this particular scenario, it really could coincide with the talent you have, Trey Lance, and make for a perfect storm.
I'm sorry. I love how Jimmy's great. He gets so much credit for whatever. I mean, he makes $27 million a year. Like, just smile and do whatever they ask you to do. Like, if you were good enough to play full time, you could. They gave you the money to do it. Now you can't. But I mean, it's good that you're a team first guy. You're not complaining. But if you were complaining, being a part-time $27 million man, whew, I just don't have the sympathy for him.
Might not look good. Yeah,
I don't think so. But you're
That's
right.
Fair.
You're right.
That's
just
fair.
Makes me giggle.
All right.
It's so like, hey, good job, Jimmy. Way to be a team.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's fair. But I mean, when you look at other quarterbacks that have done this completely unsuccessfully, like a Joe Flacco, that to me is, it could be worse.
You
could have someone who is physically limited, not the best quarterback, and an a-hole, right? Like that would be a worse scenario than Jimmy. So at least we have that.
You're right.
Looking back, did Trey Lance have a mentor within the preseason? Did you see anyone, whether it was a coach, a player, someone who was constantly in his ear talking to him?
That's a really good question, because 10 years ago, it was so obvious that for Kaepernick, it was Harbaugh. They would spend a lot of one-on-one time together in camp, a lot. Harbaugh was a former quarterback coach, a former quarterback. So he wasn't going to leave it up to Jeep Christ. There was a lot of just those 2 times. And I thought it was kind of awkward, considering he was a backup for a lot of those times. And Alex Smith was still a starter. But Harbaugh wanted to, he didn't want to delegate the development of Kaepernick. I never really saw one-on-one time with Lance and Kyle, ever. Well, there was maybe one day when they were installing the zone read, and Kyle did it with them, where Kyle was the rusher. But in terms of like throwing and stuff, I mean, Kyle's a wide receiver. So what would he really do? That's fair.
Right.
It was Rich Scangarello, the quarterback coach. They were together all the time, and Scangarello was talking to him all the time, as he freaking should be. I mean, if he gets this right with Trey Lance, Rich Scangarello will be a hot commodity in the NFL.
Yes,
and if he fails, there's going to be like 50 people lining up to take his job. So a lot of potential rewards, a lot of potential pitfalls here for Rich Scangarello. He's the man.
Yeah, considerable pressure building.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I like the sound of that. I do wish that we had a bit more of Harbaugh in Shanahan. I feel like if he could really grasp that concept of building up his quarterbacks, I think that it would take him to the next level as a leader. I know that he's a great offensive mind, but the way in which Harbaugh instilled confidence into his quarterbacks, and I've talked to you before about being a believer in the pregame ritual of the banging on the shoulder pads and the smack in the chest. I honestly think that Jimmy would benefit greatly from that. And I think Trey is a young guy too. I think that there was something to that. There was a camaraderie to it. There was a certain, I don't know, a certain element to it that is missing.
I think it was authentic for Harbaugh too, because he played.
Right.
He played quarterback in the NFL. He was a first round pick. He won playoff games. And when he was coaching in the NFL, I feel like the players grew up watching him. Everyone remembered Jim Harbaugh. Maybe
Comeback.
not anymore. At Captain Comeback, everyone remembered him. So it'd be like kind of the equivalent of, like, I don't know, like Phillip Rivers being a head coach, so or it's someone maybe not that good, but everyone remembers him. Everyone respects him. And if he says something, he tries to pump you up, it means a lot. It's freaking Phillip Rivers. It's freaking Jim Harbaugh. So, I mean, Kyle has gravitas in other ways, but not in that particular way.
That's fair. So, so you wonder whether it would come across as genuine.
If you never played the position. You're a wide receiver. No,
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of Kyle and Trey, did Kyle do everything within reason to allow Trey a chance to start week 1?
Absolutely not. I mean, he said from the beginning, it's not a competition.
Right.
And I think what happened was, I was trying to say that it's always a competition. And I was tracking the stats, and Trey outperformed Jimmy Garoppolo, but everyone's counterpoint to that, which is true, was, well, Trey's playing with the second team. You can't really compare him. And that's true. And that's the problem. He never got to compete on equal ground. He got some reps with the starters. I'd venture to say he threw 15 passes with the starters in camp and maybe 5 in preseason. And the problem was, he was playing behind that second team offensive line, which is just a disgrace.
Yeah.
And it got him hurt. Not only was he playing behind that line, like, Kyle wasn't letting him do all the things that would make him look good and win the job. No keeping it and running, no zone reads, no play action. Just stay in the pocket and work on your weaknesses and look really inexperienced and raw, and get hit a bunch of times. And then he did, and then he got hurt. So no, I think Kyle kind of had his mind up that Trey's not ready and we're going to take a slow approach with him. I already know that. I don't have to see anything different.
Accepting the fact that Kyle hamstringed Trey a bit in forcing him to throw from the pocket. Yeah. Do you think that Trey showed enough where he should have been getting more first team reps, which then could have potentially led to getting them in game?
Well, I mean, if you're judging him on what he showed in the preseason, which was basically pocket passing, then no, he looked bad, but he's going to look really inexperienced. That's all about experience, and he didn't play last year, and he doesn't have many reps anyway. So I think what would have been more honest would have been just have a quarterback competition right off the bat. I mean, you traded up for the guy. Like, who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? It's not a 3rd round pick. It wasn't the 12th pick. You made your statement. Have a competition. Let it play out. Give them both reps with the starters. Let Jimmy play his style, because you have a very good feel for how you want to call games for Jimmy. Right. Let Trey play his style. Don't make him win the job playing Jimmy style. That's not fair. Make it fair for both. I don't understand why the Niners did it this way. It's like, well, we just don't even want to go there. We know Jimmy's better. Well, no, you don't, because Jimmy came out and threw 11 picks in camp, and then 3 weeks in, you pivoted and you're like, okay, let's give Trey some reps with the starters. Well, it's a little late. It's a little late for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
one more thing, you're going to Trey not because you're saying, Trey, we love you, versus we have so much confidence in you. It's, well, now we don't have confidence in either quarterback. I'm just saying it's a different message. It's a different message.
Very much.
Haven't projected confidence in Trey. It's not like Trey, man. You know that scene in Beverly Hills Cop where he's like, these aren't regular cops. These are super cops.
Super cops.
The only thing they're missing is capes. That's what he never said that to Trey. He's like, Trey, man, you got a long way to go. And if you don't believe me, watch what happens when you play in the preseason, because I'm gonna keep you right in that sucker, in that pocket, baby. I'm sorry, I just had to go Beverly Hills Cop for a second.
I mean, great movie, great poll, fantastic. So, thanks. If I understand you correctly, the core of the issue is the unwillingness to allow Trey to play in the way that would showcase his skill set. Now, do you see
that would require a huge change in the Niners offense, like a ton of passes outside the pocket, a lot of one read and get out of the pocket. Whereas Kyle has his offense that Mac Jones could run. Jimmy Garoppolo can run to an extent. And I don't think Kyle wants to just do a full-fledged change. Right now, what he's going to do is just add the zone read, pretty much.
So you don't think we'll see those things even come the regular season?
I think we'll see a lot of zone read. We'll see some play action stuff, but I don't think we've seen Kyle really embrace, like, just go all in with Trey Lance and a whole new offense, because that's what it requires, a whole new offense.
Right.
I think Kyle loves his offense. I mean, it worked in Atlanta. It's similar. And with Mac Jones, he might have been able to recreate what he had in 2016. You didn't get Mac Jones. You got to go in a new direction. Your dad made it work with Steve Young. You make it work with Trey Lance.
So you would have preferred more time in preseason actually going over what's going to be run during the regular season, as opposed to holding back on anything so that you don't give away your game planning. You would prefer that they practice the reps.
Look, I understand Kyle keeping Lance in the pocket and saying, this is preseason. You need to work on that. You need experience. Fine. Right. Put him with the starters. Don't expect a bunch of guys who won't make the team to protect the most important person in your organization. And you know what? They didn't. They let the guy come through unblocked, and he broke his finger. And we don't know when he's coming back. He could come back in 7 days, or he could come back in 6 weeks. We don't freaking know. And they're not going to tell us. So I'm just saying, like, it was so obvious. Before preseason started, we were talking about, hey, this second team offensive line. No, we were almost joking about it, but it's like, no, it's serious, man. Even though the games don't count, the hits do. Yes. And his finger's broken. And how many games are you going to give away early in the season because you don't have Lance? Because you definitely have the worst starting quarterback in the division. And your edge here was that you now have like this Frankenstein monster, 2 quarterbacks put together that Kyle can use at the exact right times. Great. That's great. Right. You don't have that right now. And it's like, you could beat Detroit, however, but what about Green Bay? What about Seattle? So this is a problem. And I tried to tell you, Kyle, I was quality controlling it up. I had so much, the control over the quality was there. And you were like, that's what we want to do. So I don't know.
The quality was top notch. I can't argue with that. All right. Next question. What was the worst cut in your mind? What was the most questionable cut on the roster? Who's that guy that you're like, oh, why don't we have him back?
Dakota Shepley. Who's Dakota Shepley? Dakota Shepley is a young offensive lineman that the Niners waived and the Seahawks picked up. Meanwhile, the Niners kept Tom Compton, who no one wants. So they could have had both of them probably. They could have cut Compton, put him on the practice squad, kept Shepley. Instead, they kept Compton, who's like 30-something and not good. And Shepley is a guy who may have promise. It's so hard to find good, promising young offensive linemen in the NFL. Easy to find defensive linemen. The Niners have 11 of them.
Right.
Offensive linemen, the Niners can't draft them, can't develop them. They got kind of lucky with one guy and just let him go. And the Seahawks were like, oh, thank you. We will take him. You just let him go to your division rival. And now you made them better, because really the only team in this division with the worst offensive line in the Niners is Seattle. So you just help them out.
And center was their most questionable position of need. Like it really was brutal.
Yeah. So that was terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
That's fair. I wonder about the cut of Sean Coleman. I mean, to me, it must be either the injury is worse than I would imagine, or the 49ers are just done with it. Not the cut, but the shift to IR. So instead of letting him make the 53-man roster and then doing that move like they did with Hurst, to me, that made perfect sense. Bury him as depth and bring him back as an option later in the season. Now he's tucked away for next year, and I get that we don't have many people signed for 2022.
He's missed
it's unbelievable.
4 years.
Like now, instead of much like with the Rosen drama at the end of last year, where you had a legitimate shot to give him playtime and to actually evaluate what you have, I feel like that's what we could have done with Sean Coleman this year. To your point, the offensive line depth is atrocious. Sean Coleman obviously had promise. He was counted on to be our swing tackle before the gruesome injury. We traded a 6th-round pick to get him. There was something there. And to just not make that extra move, and to your point, could have easily let Tom Compton go and then brought him back the next day, I think, without fear of losing him at this point. But perhaps the 49ers know something that we don't. To me, it would have made sense to have the depth there. I think that Dakota Shepley is an interesting younger talent. I will say that at the end of the roster, I'm pretty much okay with all of the moves that they made. I'm picking at them here. I think that with the 53 man, I was pretty shocked at how aggressive they went, and I was pretty pleased overall. In your opinion, though, who are the 2 worst players that are still on the roster? It's probably pretty obvious.
Okay. Tom Compton's one of them.
Yeah, it would seem that way.
Jake Brendel's the other.
Jake
the Niners offensive line depth is just atrocious. Dante Johnson plays special teams. He's fine.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's okay. Like, the Niners offensive line is the difference between the Niners offensive line this year and last year when it was the worst is Alex Mack. That's it. I mean, Aaron Banks, nothing. Jalen Moore, we'll see. I mean, Justin School was okay. He's okay. I don't know about this offensive line. The starters, they're solid, and the backups are terrifying. Jake Brendel.
The Banks pick makes you a little nervous. I mean, that to me, I was counting on that along with the addition of Mack to really be a turning point in the depth of this offensive line, and for him not to develop in the preseason. And that may just have been the unfortunate set of circumstances and how it played out. He may still have a fantastic career ahead of him, but it's certainly, you expect a second round pick to come in and contribute immediately, especially if you're investing in interior offensive line in the second round. So I agree that's a tough one. Next question, and this one came up quite a bit. George Kittle. Why is George Kittle so feisty this offseason? What's gotten into
him? He's the voice of the locker room that is feeling 2019 vibes.
Ooh.
He's the voice of the 2019 vibes. I think he probably coined the revenge tour phrase, and now he's got the 2019 vibes. And him, freaking Kyle Juszczyk. I've spent a lot of time in front of microphones for years. Defending Jimmy Garoppolo, and they've spent a lot of time being friends with Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think they're trying to prove that organization got it wrong. Kind of like Major League, it's like you buried us too quickly. And this kid, Trey Lance, all Kittle ever says is he's 21. Good kid. I mean, wow, he's really advanced. I wasn't in the NFL when I was 21, but it's just he's 21, and we are the team that should have won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And Bosa's back, baby. We're gonna, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, and that fits the description of what I'm seeing. I wonder if it's a little bit of great players needing to create an enemy and really wanting to create animosity where there is none in order to motivate themselves. And I wonder if that's not the case with George Kittle. He's such a beloved individual, and he's normally more of a outgoing, happy sort of a guy. It seems as if he has taken the media and turned it into a little bit of an us against them type of animosity. And I wonder if that's just personal motivation on his part, just trying to be a bit angrier coming into this year.
Well, 75% of the questions he gets are about Trey Lance. Everyone are about Trey Lance. And I don't think he likes that. Because it's a little bit like, the military hazing. It's like, this guy, what has he done? He's still a rookie as far as I'm concerned. He's not even the starting quarterback. He's never thrown a pass in the league. Like, he, is upholding the order of things.
Kittle's got that old school vibe. I was listening to Bill Polian the other day, and when you hear him talk about the decision between Jimmy G or Trey Lance, and when he talks about developing rookies, he is old school football. Rookies need to sit and learn, and they need to be developed in just the right way. And I think there's something to that. I think that old school guys do get the idea of development, but I don't know that they've caught on to how physically gifted a lot of these guys coming out of college are, and how those physical gifts in a lot of circumstances can truly overcome any shortcomings that they may have and still allow for a bit of that natural progression, natural development that he's talking about.
Certainly.
All right, last one here before we move on. This was just a thought that I had, but when we talk about iron sharpening iron, and I think in this camp, when you look at the biggest example of that, you'd have Bosa going against Trent Williams. And I started to wonder about whether that's good over the long haul. And what I mean by that is, if I'm practicing against a brick wall, I'm pretty likely to hurt myself, right? That's an immovable object that I'm going against. And Bosa is essentially going up against an immovable object in Trent Williams, and vice versa when you look at the talent on each edge. Do you think that in a scenario where you have two top-end players going against each other consistently, is that in fact going to raise their game to the next level? Or is there any concern about having two top-end talents and the wear and tear that might have on the other party?
That's an interesting concept. I hadn't thought of that. I mean, it could happen, especially in the one-on-one drills. I think there's a reason why they didn't let Kinlaw and D Ford do that stuff. It's very, very violent in a sense. It could be even more violent than the 11-on-11 stuff that they do in practice. But what you should know is that Bosa did that exercise, whatever you want, that drill like twice. He went up against Trent Williams maybe 3 times this offseason. Like they didn't really do much with that. So they preserved, they kept Nick Bosa in bubble wrap the whole offseason. It was very limited. And probably to your point, because they don't want too much of that. That's a very physical matchup. So I think they took that into consideration.
I'm relieved to hear that it really sounds like this offseason the 49ers prioritize keeping people healthy. And I hope that trend carries forward into future training camps. And I think all 49ers fans owe you a debt of gratitude for the role that you've played.
I try, and I don't even charge them. All right, we got to answer some questions.
Fair.
Marcus says, do you think Kyle is happy he has a scapegoat with Trey's injury as far as the quarterback controversy? No, this is not good. I don't think Kyle's like, oh, Trey has a broken finger. Yes, I don't have to make a decision. That's the best. It's like, I wanted to use him. I thought we were going to need that zone read. Now all of a sudden, I mean, I think we can beat Detroit without him. I think we can beat Philly without him. But this next 4 games, I hope he's back. I don't think this is good news.
No, definitely not. And I think you're spot on about weeks 3, 4, and 5 really start the gauntlet for the 49ers. If we struggle in weeks 1 or 2,
that's terrible.
But there's serious trouble.
Like Nate Sudfeld might be able to win week 1.
You would think.
Yeah. You would think. Marcus comes back. Oh, doubling down. Thank you, Marcus. $9.99. Also, I feel like your record prediction is a little low. Our defense is going to be elite, and our run game will destroy with or without Trey. Still want him to start. Keeping you, though, Grant. I love the show. Well, thank you, man. We're going to talk about this in a minute. Our first segment went about a half hour. We're going to get this quick. What I'm going to say is, yeah, the Niners are really good. They have the worst starting quarterback in the division. And there's some really good quarterbacks in this division. And this division is going to be very competitive. So I'm just saying. That's what I wanted to say. Hold on. We got some more. Wow. Okay. What you talking about, Willis says Alex Smith lives in the Bay, close to Levi's. Would the Niners call him? Would Alex take it to play? Nah, man. No. Alex, don't ever play football again. That was scary when he came back.
Please don't.
You proved your point. Don't. Just enjoy retirement. If you want to come on the show, we could talk football, but don't play football. Talk football. Right. Daniel says, not defending Kyle, but why do we think he needs to show us in the NFL what he has planned for the season? Preseason is preseason. Yeah, I feel that. But you also don't want to get your quarterback hurt in the preseason. I mean, Kyler Murray didn't even play in the preseason. Derek Carr didn't. I mean, they do 4 passes. Derek Carr didn't play in the preseason. If you want to put – Trey's important. Don't just throw him out there with Tom Compton and Colton McKivitz and a bunch of practice squad guys. If you're going to put him out in the preseason, let him play with the great Mike McGlinchey. I mean, he needs Mike McGlinchey. I'm just saying. If you don't have Mike McGlinchey protecting, you can't – what can you even expect? You expect.
I'm all for the idea of holding back a little bit for the preseason, but I do think they should have prioritized keeping guys out there that would have protected Trey a little bit more. He did take some bumps and bruises that felt a bit unnecessary.
He got smacked around in the preseason. He must have taken a dozen big hits in the preseason, including the one that
couple of those first ones were serious licks. The slow motion, like when you capture it and the neck's going this way, that's not comfortable. That's a car crash right there.
I don't care how big the next day. Those hits took out Cam Newton. I mean, pretty much by the time Cam was 26, his body was done. That's the way I look. Some people still think he's got it. I feel like he really has got pounded into oblivion the season after the Super Bowl, and he's never been the same, in my opinion. I like Trey even more than Cam Newton in terms of just a skill set, but no one can take hits like that and have a long-term career.
Physically or mentally. I think it absolutely has an effect on your development and how your timing and your progressions go. As soon as you start worrying about first thing being hit, that's tough.
Spencer Bailey says, are you getting Vince Young Fisher vibes from Kyle and Trey? This feels like sabotage because Kyle didn't get his quarterback. Will Trey overcome Kyle's coaching? I don't remember what happened between Vince Young and Jeff Fisher, but I hope it's not sabotage. I feel like I hope it's just Kyle wanted to prove a point in the offseason, and he really likes Trey Lance. He just feels he needs to develop like the old-fashioned way. I hope that's it. If this is it and he's sabotaging this like entirely, that would be so bad. I mean, first he would get fired, and I don't know if he'd ever be a head coach again. It'd be very serious. A lot of people want to coach Trey Lance. I don't think Kyle's that self-destructive. I don't think he is. That would be serious.
That would.
Serious. Very serious.
Yeah, I think the former is true, and I think he's going to love working with Trey, and I do think he's just that old school mentality of slow progression, make sure he's checking the boxes.
If it worked for Steve Young and Bill and Joe Montana, fair. Yeah. Fair. If Kyle really will be swapping quarterbacks throughout the game, why not name a starter now? What difference does it make? I think Trey is starting. That's what I keep saying. He keeps saying like it's not a competition, but I won't say who's starting. Well, if it's not a competition, then say who's starting. What is going on? That's the one thing I don't understand. Like he never did this in the past. He would just say Jimmy's a starter, but now it's like I don't have to say. Why?
It's strange gamesmanship going on from Kyle right now.
I think he's just doing it to be difficult at this point. I don't even know if he has a reason. And if it's Trey, then he has a reason. If it's not Trey, then he's just doing this to be difficult, and he laughs about it when he drives home. Like he's like,
right,
ha, 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 like that. Ha, ha, I got him again. Ha, ha, ha. That's kind of, I would imagine. That's if you're worth millions of dollars, that's your laugh changes.
Bully for me.
Bully. No, Deion's best year was in 95. Who you think? What? He's having a conversation with himself when he starts. No, Deion's best year was in 95. No. What? I didn't say anything about Deion. Who you think was covering in practice? JJ Stokes. Bosa should be on Trent.
This is talking about iron sharpening iron.
But that's different. I mean, wide receiver versus corner is a lot less physical.
A lot less physical. I mean, when you think about those two massive individuals coming together, the torque and the force every time they collide, that's what I'm talking about.
You could do it like in slow motion on National Geographic with like music playing behind it, kind of like, wow.
Yeah, like
look at them
coming together.
Yeah, pretty much. JB, that's it, says Kyle still needs to grow as a head coach. He's still lacking in head coach decision and thinks like an offensive coordinator. Yep. And I think, again, if his name was Kyle Bananahan, people would be like, yo, this is the only guy in NFL history who had double-digit leads in fourth quarters of 2 Super Bowls, lost and scored 0 points in both of those fourth quarters. How did you do that? But since his name isn't Kyle Bananahan and it's Kyle Shanahan, people are like, nah, man, it's all right. He had reasons. It was Jimmy's fault. It was Matt Ryan's fault. It was a lot of people's fault. So, yeah, I mean, I think pretty soon if he doesn't start just winning, then people start being like, maybe he is Kyle Bananahan upon further review.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying. But I'm not going to start calling him out of his name because I don't want to be disrespectful. I was calling him 31 and 35 for a while. It's just not fair. He's a good, he's a person. And I wouldn't want him calling me out of my name unless I really deserved it. Steven says, who is actually responsible for the Niners draft picks? Kyler John. Dude, us. Why is Trey Lance on the team? I don't know. If it wasn't for us, it might have been Mac Jones. We just, the world may never know.
The interesting thing to me was Lynch coming forward and trying to put his flag in the ground and really stake his claim this offseason that, hey, it's me. The buck stops here.
Yeah. Well, I think it did. I think he wanted Lance and Kyle wanted Mac Jones, and they took it to the streets and they listened to the fans, and Kyle Jones, and I was like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? You want to be on your own here? You want to go with everyone else? And Kyle's like, all right, okay. You win this. You win the battle. Just wait till preseason. Just wait. Lawless says, I truly feel like Kyle believes that running quarterbacks are not inept to run his offense. Kills me. Ego through the roof. Time will tell. I hope not, because it seems like all the smart offensive coordinators are figuring out that that the playmakers get outside the pocket. And those are the big plays. It just seems so like old school to be, we got to be in the pocket. We got to throw from the pocket. Like, yeah, it worked for you in 2016, but I still think offensive line play has gotten worse since then, and defensive line play gets better. Every year, offensive line play gets worse, defensive line play gets better. Every year, in my opinion.
I think it's interesting what you're seeing in the fan base is less and less willingness to forgive any shortcomings in Kyle. I think what you're talking about with regard to the Shanahan name, I think the shine is wearing off, and people are starting to have more realistic expectations of what has to happen in order to be considered as elite as we may have anointed him early.
Well, it went from like, well, this guy, his system is so much better than Chip's and Tom Sula's and even Harbaugh's. And he can get the most out of quarterbacks like Hoyer and Beathard and Garoppolo. But now that Lance is here, the expectations are way higher. It's like, okay, you're an offensive genius. Turn him into Josh Allen or better. And if he doesn't and they keep losing and he's messing around and he's like, I wanted Mac Jones, or fans are going to lose it and be like, can we get someone else? Can we please? Because there's I feel like the Niners were so desperate, and Kyle kind of bailed them out. No one wanted to coach this freaking team. It was scorched earth. Kyle came here, he built something, and now someone else might want to pick up where he left off, the way people did with Harbaugh, although they messed it up. But I'm just saying, that's the double-edged sword of building a good franchise. If you can't win, someone else could just take over mid-project.
Yeah, absolutely. They certainly have the foundation here for anyone wanting to step in and take it to the next level.
Okay, so it's 11:45 almost. I want to go to the NFC West because we can't make people wait too much, and I really prepared a lot for this. So let's rank the teams in the NFC West. How do you want to do this?
I say that we go in reverse order.
Okay.
Leave a little bit of suspense, and we can go back and forth. If you'd like to start us off, good sir.
I think it's really hard to pick a worse team in this division. And I want to say that I think every single team in this division will have a winning record. I think they're all good teams. And maybe their win-loss record, all of them will be suppressed and a little bit lower than you would expect because they all have to play each other twice. Okay, so that's my little spiel. The fourth place team that I see this year, and it's hard to say it, but it's Seattle.
Interesting.
Seattle has the best quarterback in the division, no question.
Okay.
And that gives them consistency.
Yep.
But what else do they have? They have some good wide receivers. They have good middle linebacker still.
Yep.
Our offensive line is terrible. Their running back is not dynamic, in my opinion. Chris Carson. Their defense is okay. It's not bad. It's not good. It's okay. And the thing about Russell Wilson, he's really good, but he used to be able to sort of protect himself a little bit behind a terrible offensive line. Right. I don't think he can anymore. I think he's my age. He's 32, 33. He needs a little help, and they won't give it to him. I think that team is really top heavy. They got him making a ton of money and a bunch of other people not. So also, they have a new offensive coordinator this year. They're like sort of searching for a new offensive identity. They said they want to run the ball more. So their offense is going to go through Chris Carson. I think 9-8 for Seattle this year. 9-8.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, first thing I have to say is that we are spot on in agreement about your first point, which is how tight this division is and how talented it is at the bottom. I have very specifically, I think every team in the division ends up with a winning record, almost verbatim of what you said written in my notes there.
Yeah.
To me, though, it's until it's proven otherwise, the fourth team in the division is Arizona. I like what you said about Seattle, and I'll jump into Seattle when I get to them and where I agree and where I see their opportunities for success this year. But for Arizona, there's all the talent on the team that you want to see in order for a team to take the next step, and therefore they are primed for a breakout season. But I just don't know if they can put it all together. And everything that I've seen up until this point leads me to the conclusion that they won't put it together to the level that they should be capable of, given the amount of talent that they have on the team. And I think that if that's the case, you have to start looking at the head coach as, is this the right fit for this team? It's right about that level where you want to see some production from Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
He went all in with Murray, and so it's got to work out there. That was your guy. You got him. You sacrificed Rosen in order to do it. This is the year for them. But I anticipate within this division, with how many games they have to play against top caliber teams, that they will end up still with a winning record, but I put them at fourth in the division.
Fair. They were 8-8 last year. They haven't had a winning record in a while. And God, I don't know. Has Cliff Kingsbury ever had a winning record? He was losing in college with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So burden of proof's on him. I hear what you're saying. You make good points. Okay. That's fourth. So I have Seattle fourth. You have Arizona fourth. Let's go to third.
Third, for me, I just flip-flop third and fourth. So I have Seattle at third. I agree with you that it is the best quarterback in the division. And perhaps Russell is seeing what you saw, which is that it's harder for him to protect himself at this age. And that's why he faked holding out in order to try and pressure the organization into upgrading the offensive line, which they did through acquiring Dakota Shepley. And now they've solved all their problems, right?
All their problems.
Yeah, so it's a highly flawed offensive line, a confused offensive identity in that it sure seemed like last year when you let Russ cook, that was a recipe for a high-scoring, high-flying offense. But now you want to take it a step back and go through Chris Carson. Who,
every time you give the ball to Chris Carson, that's a favor to the other team. Chris Carson, he's okay.
Much easier. Yeah,
he's not
much
going
easier
anywhere
to anticipate.
He might get 5 yards. A bruising 5 yards.
I'm higher on Chris Carson than you are from a fantasy standpoint. He's, a pretty consistent contributor. But as far as an offensive weapon, if I'm looking at it from how is he helping my team win, I think that he's above average, certainly in that 10 to 15 range of backs, but not the type of backs where I'm taking it out of Russell Wilson's hands to give it to Chris Carson and thinking that's the better option there. That to me is,
if you want to run that kind of, because that's what they had success with that with Marshawn Lynch. There's a big freaking difference between Marshawn Lynch and Chris Carson. If you want to be that type of run first team, have some dynamic running backs, and the Niners do.
Yep.
I mean,
you have to have that identity.
Like Raheem Mostert should make defenses scared every time he touches the ball. Chris Carson, you're not going anywhere, man. I mean, you pack a punch, but you're not going anywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a thumper for sure. All right, so who you got at number 3?
Got to say the 49ers. And this is a really division. I have the Niners.
That was almost a spit take right there.
I'm sorry. I got the Niners going 10-7, and I do think they got the best left tackle in the division, the best tight end in the division, best fullback in the division, best middle linebacker in the division. Four positions. They're at number 1. But they got the worst starting quarterback by far. By far. I mean, Matthew Stafford's a hell of a player. Kyler Murray's a hell of a player. Russell Wilson's a Hall of Famer. And Jimmy Garoppolo is now in a committee. And he throws a lot of picks. He's serviceable. He's like a C plus quarterback who may not even be a starter much longer. Trey Lance, I like, but the team is telling you he's not ready. So until they figure out that, I feel like they're going to have a hell of a running game. They're going to have a hell of a defense as long as Jason Verrett is healthy. If he gets hurt, my God, I don't know what that secondary is going to be like. But they don't have, I don't trust their passing game. Their protection isn't good. Their quarterbacks, neither one seems to be that confident throwing the ball right now. So I got to say that I think they're going to win more games. I think they're going to lose to Seattle twice. But I think they're going to find a way to eke out one more win in Seattle and maybe win the playoffs. This is a very difficult division. 10 wins could get you the 7 or 6 seed. I'm saying if Trey Lance can take this job and really play better than Jimmy Garoppolo by the bye week, then this team could go really far. Yes. But if he misses the first few games and he's just running the zone read, and this is really a Jimmy production for 2021, third place, 10-7.
Interesting. I can't directly refute any of your points there. I think that they are all fair. I tend to disagree with them, but it's more of a gut feeling. All right, so if that's your number 3, who's your number 2?
The Rams. I know we don't need to talk about who that means my number 1 is, but the Rams.
No, we will touch that.
And what I want to say is I think there's I don't think there's much difference between the Rams, the Niners, and the Seahawks. They're all very similar. They're all good teams. The Rams, the reason I think I like them, what do they have going for them? They have the best defensive player. They have the 2 best defensive players in the league.
Yes.
Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. That's a great place to start. And then on offense, they are a lot like Seattle. They have the same scheme. They just got a coach from the Rams to come over there and install the McVay offense. They have hell of a quarterback. They have really good wide receivers and a run first play action attack. They're very similar. The difference is the Rams have a hell of a defense, and the Seahawks have an okay defense. And again, the reason I'm going to say that the Rams are going to be 11-6 and the Niners are going to be 10-7 is the Rams got Matthew Stafford this offseason, and the Niners got someone that they're sort of more envisioning for the future. Right. So I gotta give the Rams the edge on the Niners by a little bit.
That's fair. And this is the first one that we're in agreement. I put the Rams at number 2 as well. I think that Stafford was a hell of an upgrade. I do think that they've had considerable turnover within their coordinators, and so you don't have that same fluidity that you might hope for. That's certainly speaks to what McVay has been doing there, that he's continually getting poached by other teams, but that poaching at some point tends to catch up with teams. I was higher on the Rams before the Cam Akers injury. From a fantasy standpoint, that certainly hurt people who were thinking of taking Cam Akers. But from an offensive execution standpoint, I think that the Rams would have greatly benefited from having that true bell cow running back, and it would have opened up more of what it seems they look to do within their offensive scheme set. So I do believe that hurts a little bit. But they're a supremely talented team. I agree that when you have Donald and Ramsey, that you have 2 of the most talented defensive players in the league. I think the depth on the defense took a step back.
No question.
So I don't expect them I do not expect them to be the top defense in the league this year. I think that they'll regress a little bit there. And then I think that on the offensive side of the ball, Stafford is primarily going to carry them there. Although I did like the addition of Sony Michel. I thought that added quality depth to the running back room. And I'm not going to take anything away from Henderson, who is also a very acceptable back in the league. So they have some talent. I just thought they were truly a threat to be the first in the division and one of the best in the league prior to the Akers injury, and I had to take them down a notch. So that leaves 2 interesting conversations for number 1. I mean, I have to defer to you because you have the Arizona Cardinals making the leap. You are predicting that worst to first outset. Well, no, they were what?
They were 8-8 last year. Let's slow down on the Cardinals.
Right.
Here, let me make the case. All right, let me make the case.
Let's do it.
They were 8-8 last year. Okay.
Yep.
What they have going for them right now is they have the best wide receiver in the division, DeAndre Hopkins.
Fair.
They have the best center in the division, Rodney Hudson. That's a nice addition.
Yep.
They have the best edge rusher in the division. Chandler Jones didn't play last year. Nick Bosa, a hell of a player. Hasn't done what Chandler Jones has done.
You have to look at production.
They have the best safety in the division in Budda Baker. Just a stud. So that's 4, just like the Niners. But here's where they separate themselves from the rest of the pack. They have the cheapest quarterback in the division. That's a big deal. They have the cheapest quarterback in the division. While the Niners are spending $32 million on 2 quarterbacks this year, and the Rams are spending like $45 because they're still paying a bunch for Goff. And I mean, what are the Seahawks paying for Wilson? A ton?
Yeah. 30,
something like that. Meanwhile, you got Cardinals spending like 7 or 8 or something like that on Kyler Murray. That has repercussions over the entire roster. So what they're able to do with that savings is they went from having Trent Sherfield, who the Niner fans are all loving Trent Sherfield right now, right? And Mohamed Sanu. Well, they got AJ Green. He's 32. He's been double covered his whole career. Now he gets to go over here and be the number 2 receiver and go up against guys like Emmanuel Mosley. Like, we know Jason Verrett can cover DeAndre Hopkins. Can Mosley cover AJ Green? I don't know. So that's a nice thing that they have. They upgraded big time there. And then on defense, they got JJ Watt. He's not going to be going up against Trent Williams. He's going to be going up against Mike McGlinchey and Daniel Brunskill. That's a tough matchup. I think, I understand the skepticism with the coaches. Absolutely. This roster is freaking loaded. And it's one more thing to say. They have the cheap quarterback and they have a first-round pick on the field this year. The Niners don't.
No.
The Rams don't. They didn't have a first-round pick this year. The Seahawks don't. They didn't have a first-round pick this year. The Cardinals have Zaven Collins on the field. The Cardinals basically, you can say what you want about what they've done, but they have no drag. They've spent all their cap space. They have depth. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl, but it's basically they have a loaded roster. And they're not wasting the cheap quarterback. They didn't throw away first-round picks. It's a very good team. And even if, AJ Green misses some time or JJ Watt is hurt sometimes, they're still good. 8-8 is their basement, and I think I'm saying 12-5.
I mean, it seems like a reasonable prediction with the level of talent that they have in the room. I think the only difference in our prediction of fourth versus first is the idea of putting it all together. I think we agree on the fact that the talent is there.
Yes,
that
it is there. I don't know if Cliff can put it all together, but if he can't, fire him, because I feel like a lot of coaches could.
That's a roster that people would love to come into
this year. Jay Gruden. So let's see if John's brother can figure this out.
Yeah.
All
right. Well, that leaves me with my number one spot. As the homer, I get to pick the San Francisco 49ers to take this division.
Nice.
Because I am a homer, but I also think that I'm being very realistic in this. I truly believe that what we have put together on the defensive side of the ball with the pass rush that we are going to be able to bring this year, fingers crossed that we stay healthy. Of course, that's the caveat. But this talent on the 49ers defense, to me, has the potential to be best in the league. I mean, top defense in the league. It's crazy. And then on the offensive side of the ball, with what we have added to the offense and what we have added specifically with the number one pick, who may not be a starter to your point of being on the field, but will be on the field at points, I think that we will have the number one overall rushing attack in the league as far as total yards gained from scrimmage, rushing the ball. I think it's going to be amazing, record setting. So of course, as everyone would expect, when you spend $27 million on one quarterback and invest 3 first-round picks in the other quarterback, you then go on and minimize the quarterback position and focus all your energy on rushing. Hopefully that was, look, I get over here. Hopefully that was just Grant going dark and not all of you missing out on that wonderful breakdown of the 49ers. Grant's going to come back in. Until then, I'll continue to entertain you with the 49ers prediction. Are you back?
I'm back. I heard the whole thing.
Back.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, it was irrefutable facts that I was spitting there. And so you didn't miss a thing. No, what I'm saying here is that the 49ers, after investing as much as they did in the quarterback position, $27 million in one quarterback, 3 first-round picks in the other, of course, are then going to minimize the quarterback position and focus all their energy on the rushing attack. Because who wouldn't? Why wouldn't you just say, I'm going to spend ridiculous amounts of money on the quarterback position and then just scrap it and play as if we basically don't have one and we're using him as a running back?
It's a smart thing. So I think it's a smart play.
It is.
Yeah.
I think that when you have a top 5 overall defense and a top 5 overall rushing attack, to me, that's a recipe for a team that is going to do big things this year.
Certainly. I do think that their ceiling is the highest because I think Trey Lance's ceiling is the highest. But the season depends on him.
Yes.
This team isn't going anywhere with Jimmy. They might make the playoffs with Jimmy. That's their ceiling with Jimmy. 10 wins, might make the playoffs. I'm sorry. That's how I see it. And Trey Lance, I don't know. Maybe he's not ready to do better than that. But if he is, if he can start to improve, which would require playing time, then this team could win 13 games and win the division and win the Super Bowl. Absolutely. I guess the reason I'm a little bit down on them coming into the offseason, I had them at 11 wins, but then just seeing that they didn't really give Trey a chance. They're sticking with Jimmy Garoppolo and he hasn't improved. I'm thinking 10. I'd love to see Trey Lance get out there and take this, but he has a broken finger right now. And I'm a little salty about it because I tried to prevent this. So
yeah. The picture that you see of those 3 offensive linemen standing by blocking one individual and the free rusher coming at Trey for the injury. Oh, that's painful to watch.
Right here. Try to feel. Yeah. Well, we got to end the show a little early. I mean, it's noon. We had some more topics, but we got to stop it here at the hour mark. We can save it for next time. Till next time. Rob, it's always a pleasure. This was a great show. It was a lot of fun. As always, sir. And you're the hero today. Everyone in here saying that the show was better when I left, when I was muted. It's true. I mean, I really picked the Cardinals. Am I crazy? Cliff, please do something. Can you not step all over yourself this year because you're going to make me look bad? I just backed you. I don't even know why. You couldn't win with Mahomes. Please, you got it all. Make me look smart. Come on, Cliff. Cliff with a K? What kind of name is that? Oh, also, what is that? Did you really get named? Was that your birth name? Or did you kind of get to 17? You're like, I'm going to spice this up. Cliff with a K.
Kick it up a notch.
Hey, what's up? I'm spelling my name with a K now. What's up? How you doing?
Cliff, yeah, but with a K.
All right, everyone. I'll be back a little later. Thanks for watching.